Hi, I want to do a quick short lesson on the Beatitudes. I know you guys have just read them, but I want to explain a little bit of what they're talking about. So I picture everyone's heart like a cup. It's empty. I think I've heard lots of people describe this feeling of emptiness, this feeling of loneliness or isolation, but also this feeling that there's something more, that there must be a greater purpose in life. There must be something bigger than what we're experiencing. And so this emptiness that people feel, they try to fill with money or games or power or relationships or fame or family. And no matter what you try to fill it with, it seems like you're always left wanting. No matter how many times you win, you still want to win more. It never seems to be enough. And then when you do win and you get that goal that you've been reaching for, there's this still feeling of, was that it? Or there never seems to be enough money. It always leaves you empty. So what I think the Beatitudes are saying is blessed, happy, fortunate, and even enviable are the people who realize that they're empty. See, the very first three say, blessed are the meek. That means those who are powerless, who see themselves as unable to help themselves. Blessed are the poor in spirit. The poor are naturally dependent on others. Blessed are those who mourn. And that seems completely antithetical. Blessed are those who happy are those who are crying, weeping, mourning. Well, because when you're mourning, when you're in grief, you realize that you're empty. But then the fourth one says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. And then with the promise, it flips because they will be filled. If you realize that you are hungry for the things of God, if you realize that you're dependent on God, you can't meet your own needs. If you realize that you're not strong enough, that you need somebody else to protect you, and if you realize that life is really hard and there is full of grief and mourning, God promises he's going to fill you. And then the beautiful thing is the next three show us a sense of what happens when you're filled. It doesn't empty out like it does with money or power or fame or winning. Instead, when you're filled, you start to overflow. You start to overflow that righteousness and that blessing into others. You do so by being pure in heart. You do so by being a peacemaker. Peacemakers by nature are selfless. They are seeking peace for someone else, not for themselves. And so they're filled with the righteousness of God, and then they start to overflow with peacemaking. They start to overflow with the things of God. And so what the Beatitudes are saying is, blessed is the person who realizes that he's empty and doesn't try to fill it himself. Instead, he hungers and thirsts for the things of God. And then he will be filled. And when he's filled, he'll start to overflow into others. Now, one natural thing that will happen is that you will be persecuted. People don't like being around people. Some people don't like being around people who are filled with righteousness because it makes them feel unrighteous. And so persecution is also a natural outflowing. So I encourage you to look at your life. Are you hungry for the things of God? Are you finding that God is filling you with those things? Do you see him overflowing from your life into the life of others to bring good into their lives as well? Because that's the state that he wants us in. And so I would challenge you to say, what part of the spectrum are you on? Do you realize that you're hungry? And that your emptiness can only be found in Jesus? And do you believe that if you are empty, he will fill you? And are you overflowing to bring that righteousness and goodness to the lives of others?